Hello everybody, I'm Teacher Tiger and welcome back to another part of building a 7mm narrow gauge Loco kit, and this is part 5, adding the detail. It's been quite a while since I uploaded the last part and it's actually almost finished now, so it's time to update the series and show you what I've been up to. So this is the kit as you saw it in the last episode, after we'd finished making some modifications to the body kit. So I've made some further modifications to enhance the appearance of the kit in general. So one of the first jobs I did was take the rear cab piece of the kit, and using a pencil I've marked out this square piece here which is going to be cut out and removed. So after drilling out the corners and joining up the holes with the jeweler saw, a little bit of careful filing was all that was needed to complete this nice even square opening. The next step was to cut and glue these two thin strips of plastic card to the top and bottom of the opening. And I then cut two doors to size, as well as two slightly wider strips of plastic card to create working runners. So these two doors can actually be slid open and closed, even if they are perhaps just a little bit stiff. I then marked another small area to be cut out. This is going to form part of the handbrake well, and it was just a repeat performance of drilling out the corners and cutting the square out, again filing it down to make sure it's nice and clean and even. And then I've built the handbrake well, again using thin strips of plastic card. Now, I didn't actually video this process because it was quite fiddly and difficult, especially trying to achieve the uniform curved profile. I then moved on to the roof and repeated the process to create an opening roof vent for the cab, but unfortunately the footage showing the completion of this process was lost during transfer of the files onto the PC, as the PC crashed halfway through the file transfer process, leaving several corrupt files. So, due to the simplistic nature of the detail for this kit, I decided to get some other bits and pieces to enhance the detail. I got a selection of these white metal detailing parts online. They range from between £1 and £5 each, and these are going to go a long way to improving the look of the kit in general, as this is the bag of detailing parts that comes supplied. This bag contains some wire, some pins, some plastic strips and things. And as an example, the smokebox door dart is constructed from parts in this bag by wrapping a short length of wire around a pinhead secured to the smokebox door moulding. This will create a reasonably simple representation of the smokebox door dart, so instead I'm going to fit this white metal one, as I think it's going to be much simpler to do, as well as looking a bit more accurate. Fitting it was really simple, just requires drilling the centre of the smokebox door with a 1mm drill bit, before assembling the door dart itself and then sticking it in place. And now it's completed and fitted, I think it looks actually quite smart. The next job was I took a short length of relatively thick gauge copper wire. This wasn't wire that was actually included in the detailing part with the kit, it was just something I had lying around. I put a 90-degree bend on it and trimmed it off to size, and then mounted it here on the Loco kit itself as a representation of the blower pipe that runs from the blower valve in the cab to the smokebox. I also added a small 14BA washer there to the front just to make it look like more of a flanged fitting than it just being stuck on directly to the smokebox. I'm going to stress again at this point that I'm not an expert in any way, shape or form, so if this is total nonsense, I can only apologise, and please feel free to correct me in the comments. But having said that, I think it's a good look for this Loco. The next job was to grab a couple of cotton buds that we all use in modelling for various things, and I'm going to use them to represent safety valve sheaths. So I spun them up nice and slow in my Dremel, and using a really sharp knife just cut them off, as this gave me a really square even ended cut. And then I drilled suitable sized holes for them to fit into on the steam dome, before fixing them in place with a bit of cyanoacrylate adhesive. The two small collars you see around the base of these were cut off the cab roof, which were the safety valve pipes where they came through those, but the footage of those being trimmed off the roof was also files that were lost in the file transfer crash, as well as the filling and reprofiling of the steam dome, as originally the mouldings of the safety valves were side by side, but I preferred them to be in line. I then built this coal bunker part out of plastic card and used staples for the rails around the top edge. Construction of this was fiddly and wasn't filmed, so all you'd have seen would have been my hands, obscuring the view all the time. And once it was completed, it's attached just here on top of the water tank, flush with the cab front, and the corresponding part of this coal bunker will be built in the cab at a later time. The next job was drilling very small 0.5mm holes into the filler caps on the water tanks, and 0.8mm holes into the side of the sand dome on the boiler. And once these were drilled out, some short lengths of copper wire that were included in the detailing kit were bent to shape and fitted into the holes from the sand dome. And two pins that were also included in the detailing pack had the heads trimmed off, and the heads were fitted into the small holes on the water tank filler caps. The next job, after having a rummage through the box of white metal additional detailing parts that I got hold of, was to fit this 7mm Westinghouse Pump that I got from Roxy Mouldings for a grand total of £3.50. And after brushing on a bit of cyanoacrylate adhesive again, it was fitted to its chosen location on the Loco front, on one of the water tank faces, So all I need to do now to finish this bit off is to add the various pipes and fittings that run both to and from the pump. So moving on back to the box of additional bits and pieces, I've got these Slater's, Loco and Van vacuum pipe mountings. Again, I don't pretend to understand all the ins and outs of air brakes, vacuum brakes, steam brakes, etc. So again, you'll have to excuse me if this is completely wrong. But a bit of artistic license is required, I feel. And the only problem with these was they were far too long for the kit and the end failed the track. So I trimmed them off very carefully with the jeweler saw. And I stuck the top halves in their chosen location on the front and rear buffer beams of the kit. And as I was really pleased with how these looked, I trimmed off the lower parts that I'd removed earlier and attached those to the underside of the buffer beam and to the corresponding end where they'd been trimmed off. I also trimmed and attached staples to represent lamp irons both on top of the smoke box and to the cab rear, as well as these 3 points that can be used for mounting tools and things. One last job was I took an old drop tank from a 172 airplane kit that I had, and after trimming off the ends and profiling it with some milliput, this is going to be mounted just underneath the running plate here, just to represent an air tank as part of the braking system. But again, apologies if I've got this wrong. I'm not the expert, but artistic license and all that. So there you have it. This is the kit now. It's had all the additional detail fitted on. Again, I think it's a considerable improvement over how it looked previously, as well as if we'd used the detail parts included in the kit. The next step is going to be focusing on cab detail, which will be the feature of the next video, and then after that it will be on to painting and finishing. So I hope you've enjoyed it, I hope you found it useful maybe, and I will make sure it's not quite so long before I post the next part. So thank you very much again for watching everybody, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.